Let's pause for a minute to talk about Anchor by Spotify. Anchor is an easy to use, one stop shop to create and host your podcast. When we started making Sleeping with the Numbers, we used other hosts first that forced us to manually upload to Apple Music, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. But with Anchor, you simply upload to a single spot and it distributes it automatically to all of these locations. But that isn't all. With Anchor, you can easily record, edit, and even add music directly from Spotify to your podcast to make it sound even better. So if you've been waiting around to create a podcast, wait no longer, because Anchor by Spotify makes it extremely easy to do. Anchor is completely free and can be used by downloading the mobile app on iOS or Android, or even right from their website, anchor.fm. Make an account today and get podcasting.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
All right, hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Sleeping with the Numbers podcast, giving the Anchor mobile app a try here to record because I have moved and my studio, quote unquote, that's what we'll call it, but my PC isn't completely set up yet the way I want it to be, so we'll see how this goes. Supposedly there's some good features in here, so we'll figure that out. But just Dylan here today. Pat will be taking a sabbatical, so you're going to have to deal with me by myself for a little bit here. And I want to kick off the show by recapping our beginning of the season playoff predictions. So we made this episode, it was like week 1, and we made our predictions for who we think is going to make the playoffs, who's going to win the Super Bowl, etc. Now, we're about in week 15. We are going to re-look at the standings and everything, and I went through the rest of the season from week 15 on, and it kind of modified, not a crazy amount, but a good amount that it is a little different than what I had from the beginning of the season, which is pretty much expected. So to go back and look at what I had at the beginning of the season, the teams I had making the playoffs: Kansas City, Los Angeles Chargers, Indianapolis Colts, Cincinnati Bengals, Buffalo Bills, Tennessee Titans, Baltimore Ravens. Most of those I feel okay about, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City. The ones I'm not too confident about are the Chargers, Colts. Tennessee should be getting in. I believe they'll win their division, and then Baltimore, who knows right now with Lamar being out. So that is who I had at the beginning of the season for the AFC. For the NFC, I had Tampa Bay, which that whole division looks awful, but they'll probably make it in. San Francisco, they have locked. Philadelphia, they have also locked, so got those two in there. Dallas, they'll likely make it in as well. Green Bay, not looking great here, but they still have a shot. Stay tuned for what I say there. Cardinals, they're likely out, and the Rams likely out. So those two not feeling great about, and you'll see my adjustments get made here in a few minutes. All right, so here are my standings for the end of the season based on what has already happened. We'll start with the AFC. In the AFC West, I have Kansas City going 14-3, which means they do win out from here to the end of the season. I mean, they should. They play Houston, Seattle, Denver. I almost called them Oakland, Las Vegas. Those should be some easy wins for them. Similar thing here with the Chargers. When I actually started this segment over because I'm like, wait a minute, I have the Chargers winning out? That doesn't make sense. But much like the Chiefs, they have a very easy schedule. Titans probably the biggest coin toss here between them and the Chargers and the Titans. But then they play the Colts, the Rams, Denver. So I actually feel pretty good about them getting those 4 wins, with the exception of maybe Tennessee. But Tennessee's a little banged up here. Chargers coming back to full health. Herbert's getting his weapons back, and I have a decent amount of confidence in them here. Vegas, I have them ending at 6-11. I actually have their only win from here out against my Steelers. That's how I feel about my Steelers, not so much how I feel about the Raiders. Broncos going 3-14. They might get a win here against the Cardinals. I just no faith in that team at all. They're probably better without Russell, but hope he gets healthy and everything. But he has not looked good all season. Going to the AFC North, I have the Bengals finishing out the season at 13-4, the Ravens at 12-5, Steelers at 7-10. I have us getting a win against the Panthers in the final week against the Browns. We can do it. It's a home game. We usually win those, maybe. And then the Browns finishing at 5-12. AFC East, I almost called them the North because Buffalo's farther north than any of the AFC North teams. But Buffalo going 13-4, Miami 11-6, the Jets 10-7, Patriots 8-9. That was a really difficult division to run through and kind of predict moving forward. They're all pretty good. They should all kind of make the playoffs here. And if you remember, during our bold prediction segment, I actually had a bold prediction that both conferences will have one division with 3 out of 4 teams making it. I don't have that happening anymore, but if it were to happen, the AFC East would be the one to do it. And then finally, the AFC South, which is dreadful. Both Southern divisions, not great. Tennessee finishing out at 9-8, Colts 6-10-1, Jags 6-11, and then the Texans 1-15-1. I do not have them winning another game this season. So with that, the teams I do have them making the playoffs on the AFC side, Kansas City and the Chargers are going to make it. Chargers make that final playoff push, and they are able to get in. The Bengals and the Ravens both making it in. And then from the East, Bills and Dolphins making it in. So the way I have this kind of breaking down, the final game between the Jets and the Dolphins was the deciding factor. So that will be very fun, very interesting if that is actually what happens. And then finally, just because they won the division, because everyone in their division is terrible, the Tennessee Titans making it in. For the NFC, I have the Eagles going 15-2. They will only have a loss to Dallas next week, I believe. So 15-2 for them, 14-3 for Dallas, 9-7-1 for Washington, 7-9-1 for the Giants. They've really just fallen apart, which is a shame. They're not going to get a single divisional win, is how I have it. San Francisco already clinched. They are 13-4. Seattle, I have them finishing out the season at 8-9. Cardinals 6-11. Rams 5-12. How the mighty have fallen. Vikings gonna win the NFC North with a record of 13-4. Green Bay and Detroit both at 8-9. Chicago Bears just 3-4. I'm pretty sure I don't have them getting another win. No, they have a rough time here. Philly this week, Bills next week, Detroit the week after. Maybe they can get a win there, but I feel like Detroit can handle them pretty well. Minnesota after that, so rough time for Chicago. Tampa Bay, just because very similar to the Titans, they are just going to get in the playoffs here with a record of 9-8 because the rest of their division is bad. Saints 7-10, Panthers 5-12, Falcons also at 5-12. Technically, they all have a chance still. So we will see what happens here, and we'll talk about it a bit more when we get into the matchups. So those teams making playoffs, we already know Eagles and the Niners have clinched. I also have Dallas and Washington making it. So a lot of that NFC East. For the NFC North, Vikings, like I said, win that division. Green Bay somehow edges out the Lions according to how I have the season playing out. Both of them with the same record. Both of them with the same divisional record. So I'm not sure exactly what playoff tiebreaker it made there. Maybe it was it head-to-head? That can't be because Detroit beat them. So I don't know what the tiebreaker was there, but the site I'm using, the playoffpredictor.com, which is a really fun site, they have Green Bay making it in instead of Detroit. And then finally, like I said, Tampa Bay just making it in because their division is terrible. Getting into the playoffs, starting with the AFC wildcard round, the Ravens are going to take on the Titans. I have the Ravens winning that matchup. Bengals taking on the Dolphins. If this matchup actually happens, that'll be a good one to watch yet again. But I have the Bengals winning that one. Bills, Chargers, Bills. I think they coast through the Chargers pretty easily here. Chargers getting in is a little bit of a fluke. I think so. I don't have a ton of confidence, but the way I just ran through the season, that's how it ended up. For the wild card side on the NFC, Buccaneers taking on the Cowboys. Cowboys are going to take down the Bucs, who are somehow higher seeded than them just because they're a division winner. Niners taking on the Packers. Niners take care of business there, even with, their third string quarterback at this point. So Packers, it is possible they make a run. I mean, I had Green Bay winning it all at the beginning of the season, and I don't have that much confidence anymore. But it could happen. Let's see if I'm right. But for right now, I have them getting knocked out in the wild card round. Vikings Commanders. Vikings will win that one to go and take on the Niners. And let's just work our way back up. Divisional round. Vikings Niners. I have the Niners winning that one as well. This defense is very good. The offense seems like it can work no matter who is under center. McCaffrey can take that load and do everything he needs to all on his own. No Debo. Ayuk wasn't really needed. So again, if two of the three guys, and that will probably rotate throughout the rest of the season. 1 week it's going to be McCaffrey, Kittle, like it was yesterday. 1 week it might be McCaffrey and Ayuk. The only constant that's probably going to stay there is going to be McCaffrey. But also, like John Madden said, defense wins championships. Their defense is top-notch. We then get a divisional matchup, the Eagles taking on the Cowboys. And this one is very interesting. I had a very, very tough time going through this one. And it really just goes back to what I believed about them kind of at the beginning of the season. I know I said the Eagles had an easy pathway here, and they kind of did. But the fact remains, high caliber offense, same thing with the Cowboys. Great defenses with both of these teams. I am going to chalk it up to who I believe is the better coach, and it's not Mike McCarthy. So this seems to be the case quite often for the Cowboys. They'll get here, or maybe they'll just miss playoffs, and a lot of the times it is due to kind of poor coaching. So I'm taking the Eagles here to win this divisional matchup, which it actually is a divisional matchup, which is fun. For the AFC, Chiefs-Ravens. Chiefs are going to beat out the Ravens. The Ravens, I think, are going to come into here pretty banged up. They're already kind of losing guys. Next, Bengals-Bills. Another fantastic matchup. I have the Bills winning against the Bengals for the championship round. Chiefs-Bills. I have the Bills winning that and making their way to the Super Bowl to take on the Philadelphia Eagles after they beat the 49ers. So interesting Super Bowl matchup here. I know it is kind of not too fun to take. These guys are top two in odds right now. Bills, number one favorite to win the Super Bowl at the moment. Eagles, number two favorite. I believe the odds I saw were plus 250 for the Bills, plus 500 for the Eagles. And that is where I'm going to put my money. Plus 500 on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. They are going to beat the Bills. And this also goes to another bold prediction I had. I had a bold prediction that we will not see Mahomes, Brady, or Von Miller in the Super Bowl this year. And you may say, wait a minute, Dylan, Von Miller's on the Bills. Yeah, he's hurt. He's not playing. That doesn't count. So if that happens, my bold prediction also happens. So this is going to be an interesting matchup here. I have the Bills losing. It's kind of like that jerk journalist, I guess we can call him, who was giving Josh Allen a lot of crap saying that they don't look like a Super Bowl team. I somewhat agree. Obviously, I have them making the Super Bowl, but I do not have them winning it. Sadly, I think it might take a little bit longer for Josh Allen to get that Super Bowl, and I don't have full confidence that they'll get it this year, but it'll happen. It will happen, I believe. Josh Allen is a tremendous talent. That team is very talented. They just always seem to come up short. So we will see what happens there, but those are my current predictions for how the rest of the NFL season is going to shake out. Let's, like always, get into these matchups. Some of the important games this week as we near playoffs. If we start to look at who can clinch this week, the Chiefs can win and get into the playoffs. For the NFC, the Vikings can win and get in, and so can the Cowboys. So exciting things there. For getting eliminated, the Rams and Cardinals can, if they lose, they will be eliminated from the playoffs. In the AFC, everyone is safe at least another week. The only teams that are already eliminated are the Broncos, Texans, and for the NFC, only the Bears are eliminated at this moment, which is pretty wild to think of. So getting into these matchups, we will start up, Thursday night, Niners, Seattle happened. Niners beat the poop out of the Seahawks there and got the W. That was for Thursday Night Football. The next game, we have games on Saturday. We got 3 games on Saturday. As we come up near the holidays, they will start to kind of parse out these games onto different days. So we're going to have some Saturday games these next couple weeks. Let's get into it. The Colts are going to take on Minnesota at Minnesota. Colts 4-8-1. Vikings are 10-3. Vikings minus 3.5 point home favorites, minus 196 on the money line, and an over-under of 47.5 points. I feel like I've said this multiple weeks in a row, and sometimes it doesn't really end up that well. I said it last week, I think, with Detroit. I'm like, no, Minnesota's pretty good. They should beat them. Detroit just came out, and they just have so much heart in that game. And that is really what led them to win. Jared Goff leading the way. Amon-Ra St. Brown is fantastic. That whole offense just looked on fire. I don't know how long that lasts for Detroit, but it's really, really fun to watch. However, in this matchup, for fantasy purposes, this is probably a great matchup to target for DFS. But for sports betting, I'm going to be taking the Vikings to win, cover, and I can see this going a bit back and forth. Neither defense is really that impressive here, so I will have the over in this matchup. So Minnesota win, cover, and the over. And we have the model picks today. They will also be taking Minnesota to win and cover against the Colts. Divisional matchup, this is a rough one. Baltimore is 9-4. Lamar has been rolled out. It's looking like Huntley again, but again, remains to be seen. Something could happen mid-game. Again, I was at that Steelers game, and it was awful to watch, but their running ability, even without Lamar, is incredible to watch. And the Browns' defense has not been great against the run. Not really been great in general, but against the run specifically. So they're going to rotate their running backs. Even their quarterback, Huntley, would get a chance to roam around on these Browns. But getting into the line here, Cleveland is 3-point home favorites, minus 153 on the money line, with a horrible over-under of just 38 points. And we know with these divisional matchups, they can tend to be a bit low scoring, but when they are under 40, I am almost always taking that over. So I will take the over here, and I'm going to take the dogs. Well, the birds, I guess. I guess the Browns are the dogs. But I'm going to take the underdogs, which is the Baltimore Ravens in this matchup. Even without Lamar, I know they went up against a shitty Pittsburgh Steelers offense, defense, team. All around, they were not good. But they stuck to their game plan, which is to run the hell out of the ball. And I think they're going to do that again here against the Browns. So I will be taking the Ravens to win and cover. The model will be taking Cleveland to win, but Baltimore to cover. Another very important game here for the AFC East. The Minnesota Miami Dolphins at 8-5 are going to Buffalo to take on the Bills at 10-3. As pretty much every day in Buffalo, expected to be some weather, a little bit of snow, which is why I will be taking the under. I know they can score and everything, but snow, precipitation, all that good stuff can kind of mess with the scoring capabilities of these teams. So the Bills are 7-point home favorites, minus 313 on the money line. Do not be taking that bet. Over under at 44, and like I said, I lean towards that under, even though that is very low for really both of these teams in terms of an over-under line. They're both really good offenses, and they can score. But I'm a little worried about the weather. Again, pay attention to it. If it ends up being pretty clear, the snow happened before the game, they clean up the field a bit, all that good stuff. It's not actively snowing. It's not crazy. Then I would tend to lean towards the over if you can still get it at that low line, because this game opened up at 47.5. It is now at 44. So again, pay attention to that weather. And if it seems okay, take that over if that line is still low enough. The model: Buffalo to win, Miami to cover the 7 points. Playing for playoffs here, the Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints. Falcons are still in it, right? I know I just announced who was in it and who isn't. Let me just confirm again. Oh yeah, Falcons are still in it. Wow. All right, so Falcons and the Saints coming off the bye. Falcons 5-8, Saints 4-9. The Saints are 4-point home favorites, minus 199 on the money line, which is right under where I would take it. With an over-under of just 43.5 points. Marcus Mariota is on the IR with Desmond Ridder, the rookie, coming here to get his first NFL start. Not the best place, not the best team to have that happen again. So I'm a little surprised that they believe this game will be that close, but then again, I guess the opposing quarterback is Andy Dalton, so not a ton to be worried about there. However, I will be taking New Orleans to win and cover, and I will go with the under 43.5 points. Rookie quarterback, I'm not sure how they're going to be scoring. They're going to be running the ball a lot. Time's going to be running. Other side of the ball, Andy Dalton, not great. Maybe they throw in Taysom Hill, do some crazy plays. He'll probably score at some point because he does that every time. Kamara should have a good game. They'll likely also want to just run the clock out. No one wants to watch this game. So as long as they're running the ball, keeping that clock running, it's good for everyone. It's good for the team. Teams, good for the viewers, if however few there may be. Just get it over with. Philadelphia taking on Chicago. In Chicago, 12-1 are the Eagles going against the 3-10 Bears. Bears not playing for much here. Maybe Justin Fields playing for his job. I know that sounds super weird with how well he's done for fantasy, but the key word there is how well he's done. I almost went for a key phrase. The key word is fantasy. They're still not winning games with him, and it's sad to say, but NFL teams do not care about your fantasy team. They do not care about their players' fantasy performance. unless it is getting them W's in that column. So they have a rough stretch here. I don't think they get another win. Their best chance is against Detroit. However, it's not happening this week against Philadelphia. I'm taking them to win and cover. This is going to be a big game of catch-up, which could mean a good game for Justin Fields. And I say could because he's going to be playing catch-up. He's going to have to do so much of this on his own that he should just be getting points. But Philadelphia doesn't want that to happen. They have one of the best defenses in the league, maybe second behind the 49ers. Maybe throw the Jets up there as well. But still, fantastic defense. They're not just going to let Justin Fields do what he wants. So they're going to try to shut him down. But hopefully that means Fields is going to be running the ball a lot. I do have him on one of my fantasy teams, so give me them points. The model. Did I say the model for the last game? I didn't. For the New Orleans-Atlanta game, the model has Atlanta winning and, of course, covering because they are the dogs, which is absurd. And then for this matchup, they have the Eagles winning, but Chicago covering the 9-point spread. And that makes a decent amount of sense to me, why the model would think something like that. Because what happens a lot with Philly, they run up the score in the first half, and then they tend to coast with their defense, which means Chicago can get some opportunities to score, but they're not going to let them get super close. But 9 points seems pretty good. But I have more confidence in Philadelphia getting enough points and being able to kind of shut them down. Most of these fantasy points for the Bears players, they're probably going to be yards and receptions. Not sure how many touchdowns are going to be coming Chicago's way. And we'll pause here real quick and then get back with the rest of the matchups. No bye weeks this week, so a lot of games to get through. Getting back into it, the Detroit Lions are going to take on the New York Jets. Mike White has been ruled out, and it's going to be Zach Wilson again. And because of that, I was able to get the Lions at +1 before recording here. The line has now swapped. The Jets are now the underdogs because they are starting Zach Wilson here. So Lions are coming in as a 1.5 away favorite, -122 on the money line, over under of 43.5 points. That had to have gone down too. Oh yeah, it was at 44.5. It dropped a full point because they threw in Zach Wilson. Seems like it should drop a few more points, but I'll be taking Detroit to win and cover here. I was again lucky enough to get them as the underdogs at 1.5, a point, I forget what it was. But either way, they were the underdogs when I originally made this bet. I think they were going to win either way. They're kind of on fire here. How many have they won in a row? 2? Seems like, no. Okay, yeah. So they've won 2 in a row, but in their last 6 games, they're 5-1. So they're playing very, very well, and they almost beat the Buffalo Bills. They only lost by 3 points there. So they're doing very well, and I think they get the win here in New York. I guess technically Jersey. The model will be taking... here we go. Detroit to win and cover. My Pittsburgh Steelers at 5-8. Probably with Mitch Trubisky, Kenny not looking to start this game. Going to Carolina to take on the 5-8 Panthers. The Panthers are 3-point home favorites, -150 on the money line, +127 for the Steelers. Incredibly low over-under of just 37.5 points. It looks like It also dropped a point when it sounded like Kenny wasn't going to play. I will be taking the over here. Neither defense has looked up to the task. I know Steelers fans like to hype up our defense and all that, but it isn't there this year. Just not our year, boys. It's okay. But again, you know me. Don't listen to me on this pick, but I'm taking the Steelers to win and cover here. Carolina has kind of looked like the Ravens in the sense that all they want to do is run the ball. I guess they also look like their division mates, the Falcons, and they've been running the ball very well. And then how did the Steelers lose last week? Because Mitch threw 3 interceptions and then we had a field goal blocked. But in reality, the Baltimore Ravens were running on the Steelers defense non-stop. I think the same is going to happen this week with Devonta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. So maybe you want to plug those guys in your fantasy lineup. Najee is probably also a good one. Wide receivers, none from Carolina. I don't want to play DJ Moore. That sounds awful. Deontay hasn't been great. Pickens hasn't been great. Deontay actually came out and said he wants Mason Rudolph to start instead of Mitch if Kenny's out. So there's some rumblings in the locker room. It doesn't look great for them. So quite honestly, because of that, I don't think I want any Steelers wide receivers either. No Deontay, no Pickens, just Najee, I think. We'll get some decent checkdowns here, even though our line is still absolute trash. So I'm taking Steelers to win and cover, even though I just shit all over them. Unbiased pick, I'd probably still take the Steelers to cover and then maybe go Carolina to win. But there's not a lot of value in that minus 150 when I do see this as a decent coin flip matchup. And when that's the case, 50-50, that is even money. That isn't here. So if I think it's a 50-50 matchup, but the odds are currently plus 127 for the Steelers, that means they have a 43.4% win probability. And like I said, I said I have it as a 50-50 matchup. So that gives an edge of 6.6%. So if you're doing it that way, I'm sorry, the break even, I screwed that up. I'm sorry. Let me flag that. So with a line of plus 127, that gives an implied probability. So with a line of plus 127, that's an implied probability or a break-even percentage of 43.9%. And like I said, this feels like a coin toss, 50-50. And if that's what I believe, that means there's value on this. There's a 6.1% edge, is what it's called, between what I think the win probability is versus the implied probability calculated from the odds. Check out some of our previous episodes to look at how to calculate those. You can also just Google it, but I want you to watch our content. So I don't see the value in betting on Carolina at minus 150 odds, because then there's a negative edge, because I see it as a 50-50 probability. A minus 150 is an implied probability of 59.8%, which is a negative 9.8% edge. The value just isn't there. And the theory says you take the bets that you believe you have an edge on. And that's what I would do here. So over, Steelers to win and cover for me. For the model, they're definitely not taking Pittsburgh. They're taking Carolina to both win and cover the 3-point spread. Dallas, after they didn't lose, but it was still pretty embarrassing to get that close with Houston. So Cowboys coming in 10-3, which probably caused the line to be so close. But they're going to take on the 5-8 Jacksonville Jaguars. The Cowboys are 4-point away favorites, minus 208 on the money line, over under of 48 points. Jacksonville opened at 6.5-point underdogs. They're now down to 4-point. Very strange, but I'm going with the Cowboys here. I trust them a lot more. I'm going to take the Cowboys to win and cover. 48-point over-under is interesting because Dallas's defense is pretty good as well, but they just let Houston score all those points on them. I think Jacksonville has a better offense, not by much, but a better offense. And if that's the case, they should be able to put up points. And Dallas themselves have been putting up a lot of points in their last 5 games. They put up 27, 54, 28, 40, and then 28 in the loss against Green Bay. So they're putting up points. Jags, 36, 14, 28, 17. So they really don't need to score that much if we think Dallas is going to be scoring that much. So I'm taking Dallas to win, cover, and I will do the over. The model, Dallas to win, Jacksonville to cover. And then speaking of Houston, they are home against the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City coming in as 14-point away favorites, minus 930 on the money line. Do not, never take that bet. Those odds are awful. Over under of 49.5 points. I don't know how much tango in the Texans are going to do here, but it takes 2, I've been told, to tango. So I don't see that line being hit. I'm going to take the under, and then I'm going to take Kansas City to win, obviously, just for a pick. I'm not actually betting that. That's a mistake if you do that. And then I'll take Houston to cover. 14 points is massive. I'll take Houston to cover. It pains me to kind of say it, but that's just so many points. The model will be taking Kansas City to win and Houston to cover. They only have Kansas City winning by 11. Arizona taking on Denver. This is another one you'll probably just want to turn off. But the 4-9 Cardinals, Kyler Murray out for the season, taking on the 3-10 Broncos. Russ also probably out. I don't think for the season, but Ripien, I don't know how to say his name, and Colt McCoy are going to be the starting quarterbacks for this matchup. Without Russ, I actually think they're kind of better. And so their defense is also going to be what keeps them in this game. And I have to go with the defense. They're home. So I'm taking Baltimore to win and cover. And then the over-under is just at 37 points. So Broncos, 3-point home favorites, minus 158 on the money line, plus 134 for the Cardinals. Over-under at 37, I have to take that over. Model. Model has always liked the Cardinals. So it's taking them to win and cover here. New England taking on Las Vegas. The Patriots are still hunting for a playoff spot. They are 7-6. Raiders at 5-8. Raiders. Again, anytime I can bet against Derek Carr, I'm going to do it. But the Raiders are a 1.5 home favorites here. Minus 118 on the money line. Minus 101 on the money line for the Patriots. So even Vegas doesn't know what to do here. Over under of 44.5 points. Give me the Patriots to win and cover. And then Josh Jacobs should be fine. Oh boy. I think it has to be the under here. Derek Carr, if I can bet on him not to score, I'll do it. So that's what I believe will happen here. So I'm taking New England to win and cover and the under. Model is stupid. They're taking the Raiders to win. They also had the Raiders, was able to get the Raiders at +1 Let's see if they still take even at -1.5. They do. So either way, the model would be taking the Raiders to win and cover. Titans, Chargers. This is a good one. This is another one that I see as a coin toss. And remember what we talked about it with coin tosses. We believe it's 50%. So you take the dog when you are betting. Key thing there, when you are betting. So what I bet and what I pick here are going to be two different things. And again, I know that sounds backwards. We kind of go through this every week. But you bet where you believe there is an edge. You don't always bet what you believe will hit. And it all has to do with the odds. That is where the theory comes in. That's what you need to pay attention to. So the Chargers are -3-point home favorites. I am going to take the Chargers to win and the Titans to cover for my picks. But if I'm betting this, I'm taking the Titans to win and cover because there's that edge. Currently, their odds are at +131. Chargers at -156, which is a implied probability of 43.2%. I believe this is a 50-50 shot of who wins this game. So with that in mind, that means it's a 6.8% edge in our favor. So that is why I would take that bet. Over-under at 46.5 points. I'm going to take the over here. Neither defense has been really that good. It's going to be fun to watch these running backs. This is another great DFS matchup. Don't put both running backs in your matchup. Just kind of pick one and then run with it. Henry and Eckler. They should be pretty good. Henry's kind of leveling out here, but no matter what, the Chargers defense hasn't been great. He's likely due at least one touchdown. 9-4 Bengals taking on the 6-7 Buccaneers. Buccaneers also looking for a playoff spot. I don't think Cincinnati's going to make it easy for them. Cincinnati's coming in as 3.5-point away favorites, -194 on the money line, +161 for the Bucs, and a over/under of just 45 points, which I think is pretty low. I know the Bucs haven't been really scoring, but this could end up being somewhat of a shootout. So I'm taking the Bengals here to win and cover, and I'll take that over 45 points. Model, Bengals to win and cover. And then one more break here before we get into the primetime matchups. Sunday Night Football, it will be a divisional matchup. 7-5-1 New York Giants against the 7-5-1 Washington Commanders. They played each other just the last game, and then they had byes. And now they're seeing each other again, just at a different field. Washington coming in here as 4.5-point home favorites, -219 on the money line, +182 for the Giants. Over/under of just 40.5 points. Give me that over. New York has really, it feels like they shot themselves in the foot. You know, they've really just have not been able to do anything. Anytime I look and talk fantasy, no one talks about any of the Giants receivers because it's almost like they don't have any. And that's including the tight end. This team is Saquon. And then if you're in a pinch, you probably can play Daniel Jones because he'll get some rush yards as well. But they've really just screwed themselves. I don't know if it's the coaching or what happened here. But the amount of touches Saquon is getting is not enough if they want to start winning games again. They were winning games when he was the entire offense, which he still technically is, but they're just not giving him the ball enough. If you want a chance, give him the ball. And this is a very, very, very important game for them. If they win this, this might be make or break for playoffs. So with that said, I'm taking the Commanders, like I said, at the beginning of the show, I have them making the playoffs instead of the Giants. So Commanders, I think, get the win here, and I also have them covering with the over 40.5 points. Model will be taking the Commanders to win, but the Giants to cover the 4.5 point spread. And our final matchup, one that people probably circled on their calendar at the beginning of the season. They're like, this is going to be a great matchup. This is going to be a preview of the NFC Championship game. Not anymore. The 4-9 Rams, led by, can you say led? But with Baker Mayfield, I'm not going to say led, take on the 5-8 Packers. Packers coming off the bye week here, and they come in at Lambeau as 7-point home favorites, minus 309 on the money line. Again, do not take that. Rams at plus 249. Now, there's probably an edge on the Rams, and the theory says you should take that bet. Am I confident enough to do it? No, I'm a little bitch here. But the math in the theory, it says to take the Rams. Also, super low over-under of just 39.5 points. I will take that over. Defenses, both very good. So I can understand an argument for the under, but 39.5, that's too low. So I will take the over. Green Bay to win. Rams to cover. It's a tough one. This is another one, maybe I'm not 100% sure what happens because of what happened last week with Baker coming to town. So I'll take the Packers to win, but the Rams to keep it close and cover that 7-point spread, which may just end up being a push. But that will do it for all of the matchups, playoff predictions. Fantasy playoffs have started in the majority of leagues, I would say. So if you're in those, best of luck to you. If you want to get started with some prop betting, or even just bulk up your betting account before playoffs come, when arguably it's a little more fun to do some prop betting because all eyes are on these games, do it with Monkey Knife Fight. You can check out their link in our description, and you'll get your first deposit match instantly up to $100. And then Christmas is right around the corner. Even if you don't celebrate Christmas and you want to get your dog something fun, BarkBox is a great way to do it. They have toys, treats, games, anything you can think of for your fun little pup. And they have little themed boxes every month. And so it's a subscription service, but you don't have to do a full subscription. You can do it for 1 month if you wanted to. Or get a single box. They even have their own branded toys. So check out BarkBox. If you want to get your furry friend something nice for the holidays, and if you use our link, you can get a month for free. Check it out in the description, and we will see you next time. Thank you for joining in.